There you go. We're having so much fun talking, Gary, that we can't get the interview started, and it's almost dark,
I
right?
know,
Yeah.
it's dark.
So we've talked for like an hour or so since I drove in. What is this forest? Is this Thyssen? What was the name? Or
Umpqua.
this is
Umpqua.
this is the Umpqua.
Umpqua National
Right.
Forest. Yeah.
Right.
And this was a CCC
side.
camp originally.
Right.
When they built this road.
Right.
They were building this road. They wanted to have trade from Roseburg
Right.
heading east
Right.
across the mountains.
Right.
And it took them 2-3 years to build this road. CCC did it also. They had 4 or 5 of these camps along
Right.
here. And so we, like you, just stumbled in here, but what a beautiful place.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And
kind of
it's just
except for the mosquitoes.
except for the
are
mosquitoes
vicious.
and my nomadic life might be about to come to an end because you just displayed a tick to me which you found in your car. Your wife found it on her ankle.
Yes.
She
Yeah.
found a tick. Yeah.
Yep. And so that's pretty rare. We're not sure. We're near Crater Lake. You were in Crater Lake
Right.
today hiking, and we were up at Crater Lake hiking. And she had short ped socks on.
Right.
And so, she found it. She was getting ready to go to bed and found it on her ankle.
Yeah.
And was able to pull it out because it was pretty recent that it was in there. So we didn't need tweezers or anything. So
Right.
that's why I brought that over to show to you because I knew you were hiking up in there today. So
Right.
wanted to tell you to make sure you checked yourself for ticks.
For ticks,
I don't
right,
think
yeah,
it was in this
yeah.
parking lot because
Yeah.
it's all gravel here and
Right.
that's usually not tick territory.
And
but-
you told me that gravel is usually not where you picked them
Yeah,
up. Yeah.
yeah, so-
So this place is fantastic. It's just you and my vehicle, and that's it, right?
They saved it for us.
They did, right. And there was a sign when I entered said beware of wolves.
It
And
did
you
say
also
that.
reassured me, well, don't worry about the wolves so much because you'll save me, right?
I would not. We'll save you, but I would not. I've been around wolves,
Right.
coyotes,
Yeah.
mountain lions, and again, if you don't have any smelly thing to eat in the tent, they're very they're more gregarious. They're not going to probably.
Well, I
bother
just
you.
gave you my halibut. So if
Yeah,
the
you
wolf
pawned
comes,
that off on me.
I
so
just,
if, they're gonna
if
attack
the wolf
anybody,
comes, I want him to come to you, right?
Go visit that guy over there. He's got
Just
the
go
good
over there.
stuff.
He's got the fish. He's got the smelly stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So your name is Gary, and
Correct.
you're from Pennsylvania.
We're from Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Near-
You still
near
live there?
Pittsburgh, near Pittsburgh. We're up
Pittsburgh?
in the
Okay.
mountains in the southwest.
Okay.
Southwestern
Part of the state.
Pennsylvania, in the
Yeah.
Appalachian Mountain chain.
Got it.
That's where we live.
And you still live there.
Yep, still
Yeah.
live there, but we're kind of like gypsies and nomads now. I'm
Right.
almost 80. I've been retired for 15 years now. My wife just retired about
Uh-huh.
4 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And so we've just been traveling all of North America. And,
Right.
we spent January, February, and March in Costa Rica.
Uh-huh.
And so we're getting a little bit of international travel too.
Right.
But this travel, we drove from Pennsylvania to Portland, Oregon. I had a conference. We
Right.
drove down the Oregon coast and California in the Redwoods.
Yeah.
And then over to Reno, Nevada
Right.
to visit children. And then to Salt Lake City. My wife had a conference in Salt Lake City.
Right.
And now we're heading north again. So we left Salt Lake City, came up through Crater Lake.
Right.
And that's where we met. And now we're on our way up to Rainier.
Uh-huh.
Tomorrow, next day, we'll be in Rainier. And then Olympia National Park up in Seattle,
Right.
across the bay from Seattle,
Yeah.
and then into Alaska. So
Right.
we will probably be on the road 3.5 months, and
So till the end of
just
the
taking
summer,
our time,
right?
And enjoying. Yeah, hope
Yeah.
to be back home about the middle of August.
Right. And then you'll settle down, hunker down at
Yeah.
home for a few months.
a while, maybe.
Or-
it's hard to say.
Yeah. And you've done other long trips, right? You said you were in the Southwest.
A couple years ago, we
okay.
spent 3.5 months in Arizona,
Right.
southern Utah, New Mexico,
Right.
Texas, and then last year in the fall, we spent a lot of time up in the New England states,
Right.
and then we crossed over the border in Upper Maine, and then
Right.
spent 2 months in the maritime Canadian
Right.
provinces, which was really a treat. I would always wanted to be on all those islands
Right.
up there, St. John's and Nova Scotia and
Yeah.
Newfoundland and Labrador, and yeah, it's kind of interesting up there. Not
how
a
do you
lot of population.
Right. It's not many people, right?
Yeah,
It's-
and especially in Labrador.
Right.
Now, Nova Scotia, we were surprised that Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, how many people? It's really well developed in there. It's a beautiful, beautiful country.
Right.
It was like being in Norway on the fjords up around Cabot Trail.
Right.
It's just beautiful, beautiful.
Right. And you did the same. The method was the same. You were in your vehicle. It's a Dodge. What is it?
Yeah,
The
a
Journey.
Dodge Journey.
Journey.
And we
Right.
call her Journey.
Great name, right?
Yeah.
Journey, Voyager,
Yep.
Expedition.
Yep.
So how did you find traveling in Canada versus traveling like this in the U.S.? What's the difference?
Pretty much the same,
Uh-huh.
actually. Yeah, we had no problems crossing any of the borders.
Right.
And traveling was just about the same. We had, because we were visiting the maritime provinces, going from island to island to island, where the provinces are there. We had to take a lot of ferry boat rides.
Okay.
But we just put paid for the car and us on a ferry boat ride.
Get
And
on the ferry to the next
some of
island.
the ferries were
Right.
only a couple of hours. One was about 8 hours
Uh-huh.
in the ferry. And most of them were all calm. We only had one that had pretty high water and a lot of rain when we were coming up into Nova Scotia.
Right. What are
Generally,
your
it was the same. Food's about the same.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can find camping spots like
Yep.
in forest or whatever, right?
Yep.
It's pretty much the same. Yeah. What about rest stops? What are they like over there? Because here, rest stops also like gas stations,
They
truck
don't
stops.
really have a lot of
Yeah.
rest stops like we do
Uh-huh.
on our roads.
Uh-huh.
So it was more like there's an app that we use, and I just can't tell you what the name of it is. But
Dirt, Overlander,
Overlander.
iCamper, Overlander.
That's
Yeah.
it. I think it is called Overlander.
Okay. There's like 3 or 4 of them
And we
that are
haven't
really
used
free
it much
roam.
here,
I
but
think
we
is
use
another
it
one.
a lot in Canada. So in fact,
You did?
somebody in Canada told me about it.
So
And
was it more useful in Canada?
we started using it, and because there weren't that many.
Oh, I see.
Places
So it's hard to
stay.
locate. Like, where
Yeah,
is that
yeah,
thing? Here,
yeah.
you just
There
run
weren't
into
as
things.
many parks,
Right.
national parks, federal parks as we have here.
Right.
But sometimes we use Walmart's
Right.
parking lot, and they were very friendly to us in Canada. There was never a Walmart that we went to
Right.
that would say no. So in a lot of the major cities,
Friendlier than in the U.S. because here sometimes if you ask them, they're not that.
no, they're getting worse all the time.
They're getting worse,
We've
like-
noticed in the last 3 or 4 years, so many places that you pull
It's
into
all
now,
getting
there's
shut
a
down.
sign that says
Right.
no
No overnighters.
no
camping.
overnight staying.
You're right.
You can't be in an RV, you can't be in a
Right.
truck, and whatever, but no overnight staying.
Which is
And
very
we
different
were actually
because-
asked to leave
Right.
the Walmart's at 2
Really?
o'clock in the morning one time.
I've always been afraid of that, so I never tried parking overnight at a Walmart.
Yep.
Once I thought about doing it in LA, and I was like, it seems okay, but I don't know. I think once in Flagstaff, I asked them, and they were like, sure, you can do it. It should be okay. But I just didn't feel like, it was
Yeah.
all that welcoming. But it used to be, legend has it in this sort of travel that Walmart and Cracker Barrel is another one you hear
Right.
about. Like, oh, you can always be in a Walmart, but I don't think that's quite true anymore. It's not
We
really
look
true.
now in every place, if there's a sign there
Right.
that says no overnight,
Don't do it.
then we don't go
Don't
there.
even do it. Yeah.
And
yeah.
and we're just finding that more and more and more. And what I've been told by a couple of Walmart managers
Right.
is the homeless situation
Yeah.
in so many cities. So the warmer the climate, the more
Oh,
people
I
want
see.
to camp out. And what they don't want is people coming in a camper and living there for 2 months.
And really start living there, and
Yeah.
if like quietly 7-8 hours, and you're gone without making any fuss. You just disappear, right? Leave no
Right.
trace.
Yeah.
But
And we spend a lot of money at Walmart's too because
True.
we
Yeah,
buy
because
food
you're supporting
like you,
them.
when you're on the road. We stop at Walmart's.
Right.
Probably, we like Walmart's because we know how to shop. We know how the stores are laid out. Their
Right.
prices are good. And so we stop there probably every other day or every time we're in a city that has a Walmart. We
Right.
look for that first and go there. And so I've even told somebody, I said, well, these campers that come in are probably some of your best customers.
Sure.
And he said, that is true.
Right.
But the homeless people, the
Yeah.
homeless situation are people that are living long term and want to park in our parking lots for 2 or 3 weeks or
that's
longer.
different. Yeah.
And then they find that these people kind of harass their customers.
Right.
They'll beg for money.
Money,
for
right,
food
panhandling,
in
yeah.
the parking lot. And so, I can kind of understand where they're coming from, but they were very nice, convenient places to stay.
Right.
Sometimes they still are, but it's just not as.
It's changing
conducive
rapidly.
anymore, and we are
Right.
way more aware of that and way more cautious about where we're going to stay.
Right.
And truck stops are a good place to stay. When we are on the road. If we're on major highways,
Right.
truck stops are always very nice. Loves and Circle K and
Right.
Pilot.
Yeah.
You can get showers there and
Right.
laundry services there, and so they're very friendly and very hospitable
Right.
and easy to deal with.
Now you said you're 1 month short of 80.
Yes.
Right. And how long have you been taking these long journeys? It's not all the time, right? You
No,
might
we
do
go
it for a
back
few
home.
months, you go back
Yeah,
home.
we go
Yeah.
back home and visit the doctors and do the things that you got to do and check
Right.
up on things. And then we'll kind of plan where we're going to go, where we're going to go next. And as I said, we've been able to do a lot of traveling within the last 4 years since my wife retired.
So the last four
And I
years,
married
yeah.
young, so she's 10
Yeah.
years younger than I am. So,
Right.
so she's 70.
She's a spring chicken compared to you, right? And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very unusual. We were saying it takes a special person because you're doing this with your wife, right?
Yeah,
That's
to
in
want
your
to
dad
live
journey.
this kind of life
Right.
and to be so close
Right.
for such a long period of time.
This is
I
not
mean,
even like being in a house.
if you get
This is
mad
in a
at
car.
well, yeah, in a
This is a
house,
car
you can
marriage.
go to another room, you can get
Right.
away.
Where are you gonna go here?
When you're sitting here in the driver's seat and she's in the passenger seat, or vice versa, and then when you sleep in the car and you're only about 3 inches apart.
Right.
So for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for months at a time, we live in a car.
Well,
and
either-
lots of people tell us, I
Right.
could never do that.
Do that,
My
yeah.
spouse either wouldn't do it or
Yeah.
we'd kill each other. One or
Right.
the other.
Well, either you love each other
Yeah.
a lot or you just don't care. You're just indifferent to each other. So, hopefully in your case, it's the love,
Well, we have a lot of love for each
Yeah.
other and a lot of respect for each
Yeah.
other. We both have a strong sense of adventure
Yeah.
and curiosity.
Yeah.
And so she'll say, "I'd like to go here,"
Yeah.
and I'd say, "Oh, that's fine," or I want to go over here. And so we really, some days we travel 5 miles, and some days we'll do 500 miles.
Right.
It just depends.
Depends. Just depends.
I
Or
know
maybe
a
some
couple
days you
years-
want to spend a couple of days, a few days in some
Yeah.
spot that you like,
Well, we a couple of years ago we crossed Oklahoma.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't think Oklahoma was, we would find much to do in Oklahoma.
Right.
So we just planned on just, a day across Oklahoma and we'd be gone. But then we stopped at I think it's called Fort Smith, Arkansas.
Uh-huh.
And we found out about frontier justice and when the Oklahoma was the Indian territory and all the mass movement of so many Indian tribes into Oklahoma that we became very fascinated by a lot of the Indians. And we ended up visiting probably 13 different tribal Indian council cities across Oklahoma. And so we got a lot of history about the indigenous natives
Right.
in this country and
Right.
how badly they were really treated and uprooted
Yeah.
but how they've survived and what they're doing, and some of them have done quite well for themselves and others don't, and it was very interesting to see that. So we spent almost 2 weeks crossing Oklahoma from
Right.
all over the place, and that was surprising to us because
Yeah.
we didn't expect that.
You didn't expect
So
it.
you
Yeah,
never know
yeah.
when you travel.
Yeah.
You're going to get up in the morning.
Where
and
you might want to stop
then you
and
see
linger.
a sign and you say,
Yeah.
"Let's go check that out."
Yeah.
and it could be just really, really exciting. And,
Yeah.
and so that's the beauty of traveling like this and not having a deadline
Or destination.
or destination, even really. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could say. I thought from Salt Lake City to Crater Lake would
Right.
take maybe 2 days at
Sure.
the most.
Yeah, it never
It
does.
took us almost 6 to get here.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
we go here. We went to visit Twin Falls in Idaho. We
Right.
went to see this big, huge falls and spent a day there. And it's just this kind of interesting.
That's how it always happens. And
Yeah.
sometimes
And
some
we don't care.
Right, exactly. And some places you think you might want to stay longer, you just don't spend that much time.
Yeah.
You just move right along.
Well,
you
or
know?
you can't.
Right.
We had thought we'd spend maybe 2-3 days at Crater Lake.
Right.
But the camping situation today
It's difficult. It's a
was
weekend.
difficult
Right.
because they were booked up and said they're booked up for almost the rest of the summertime. Then
Right.
They say unless somebody cancels, unless you're right here at that time.
People have started
And so they said,
reserving,
and
yeah.
you can't park anywhere in the park and sleep in your car. You
Right.
have to be at the one
Sure.
only campground.
At a campground.
And so we said, well, we just won't do a lot of hiking here. And so we did a little bit up
You
on
spent the
rim
day
trail.
here, saw the-
It was just
yeah.
absolutely
Beautiful,
spectacular and
yeah.
breathtaking and beautiful.
Yeah.
But instead of being able to spend a couple days and doing more,
You got to move on.
yeah, we wanted to go through.
to move on,
Plus,
yeah.
we thought we'd want to do the whole rim in our car, 33
Right.
miles. but it's still snow covered. I mean, here it
Right.
is almost July, and a
Right.
third of it is still under snow.
Most of it is still, the roads are still closed, so you
Yeah.
can only do part of it,
Right,
which is what
right.
I did.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that was a kind of a disappointment. And then
Right.
we really thought we wanted to take a boat ride on the lake.
Right.
And we found out that doesn't start until next week.
Right.
So we were kind of either too early or too late. And so we said, oh, well, we'll just pass on through. We got to see it, and we spent the whole day there, and that was nice. But you're right. Sometimes you think, oh, I'll spend more time here.
Right.
And circumstances come up and you can't. And so you have to move on.
I think, does it take a certain kind of mentality, do you think, to be able to live with that kind of unpreparedness or surprise or dealing with the unexpected? What does it take to do this?
Well, I think it does probably take a special personality. We try
Uh-huh.
to stay very flexible,
Yeah.
and say,
Okay, if not
say
this,
this was
then
okay, it worked
yeah.
out okay. They find a gratitude statement.
Yeah.
We maybe didn't get to do this, but we got to do this.
Something else,
So
yeah.
instead of approaching things negatively,
Right.
we're trying to find the positive aspects of it. And it's like all of life. You can have certain plans,
Right.
and it just doesn't happen.
Right.
An old saying that I like to use is, I ask people, do you know how to make God laugh?
Yeah.
And they usually say, no, I'm not quite sure. And I say, tell him what your plans are.
Right. Exactly.
And then he'll say,
right.
no, I don't think we're going
Yeah,
to do
right.
it that way. We're going to do it this way.
This way.
And
yeah.
so we just try to say, okay, God closed that door, but he opened up another one. And just to be flexible and
Right.
say, it's just all part of the adventure.
Right.
You said this earlier, not having a destination
Yeah.
per se.
Yeah.
Life is about the process of getting there. It's
Right.
not the destination. When you get there, sometimes the destinations are just not what you think they're supposed to be,
Yeah.
or what you want them to be.
Yeah.
And so I think to just be flexible and be grateful for what we do get to do every day, and that we had good food today, and that the car didn't break down today.
Sure.
Those are just real and we find a beautiful place to camp and make
Right.
a new friend, and
Yeah.
those are the blessings that you get when you're
I'm
not.
even grateful to get through a day without an accident, without something horrible happening to my car or to
Yep.
myself. Even that is something at the end of the day you say, wow, I'm glad that, no
Absolutely.
disaster happened.
Yep.
And that's something to be grateful for. But when you're sitting at home, you're not thinking like that, right? Because you're making plans and you're thinking, I want to do this and that. But when you're on the road, I think everything is more precarious, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And the flexibility. I just think you got to be
Yeah,
flexible
that's a
every day.
great point. Yeah. What else do you think you and your wife have learned? Have you, from being on the road, what has it taught you?
Well, we live in a beautiful country.
Right.
And well, I should say, I guess what we've learned is every place is beautiful.
Yeah.
People are people, and some are beautiful and some are not.
Yeah.
And that's every place. I don't care whether you're in a foreign country or
Right.
in Utah or Pennsylvania or Maine or Canada.
Right.
It really doesn't make any difference. And in many cases, a tree is a tree is a tree, no matter where you go.
Yeah.
And so you can appreciate the beauty of some places, but even the stark nature of the high Sierra deserts,
Yeah.
or the deserts down in the Southwest,
Right.
they're all beautiful in
Yeah.
their own way.
Yeah.
And so instead of saying, oh, this is terrible because it's not what I'm used to, it's like with an open mind and an appreciation for what God has given us,
Yeah.
and the beauty of creation, it makes traveling, so much nicer, because again, we can appreciate really something almost every day,
Right.
where we are, and it may not be what you expected,
Right.
but it is something to be appreciated. And I think that's what we've kind of learned along the way is, be nice to people. People are nice to you, and even
Right.
animals.
Right.
We talked about the wolves here and bears,
Right.
and I've had experiences with all of those critters,
Right.
backpacking and bicycle camping, and even in car camping. And if you don't hurt them, they're not going to hurt you.
Right.
And so that's a kind of a life lesson to learn too, is kind of live and let live.
Right. Same with people too, right? As you move
Absolutely.
through this journey and you encounter different people, if you don't hurt them, they're not going to hurt you.
Yeah,
right?
generally, unless you
Generally, yeah.
run into somebody who's really psychotic.
Right, right.
But
Have you on this journey?
fortunately, we have not. No, we have
I haven't
not.
either.
Not that
Not so
I'm
far.
aware of,
Not that
anyway.
right. We don't know if they
Yeah,
were, but we just
that's
got
right.
lucky, right?
If they were, they didn't bother
They
us.
didn't, right? So
They went to the next person. Maybe because I said good morning first.
right, and that's a blessing, right? So
Yeah, it
maybe
is.
we just got away, with good luck. So, was it your idea to start this? Was it your wife's idea? Was it both
Oh,
of you?
mine.
Did you talk about it, or
No,
okay?
well, mine. My father was professional military. I've lived in several countries,
Uh huh.
but I've always had kind of a wanderlust and a curiosity.
Okay.
And so, I've been in all 50 states
Right.
and several. I've been to Africa twice, and South America twice, and
Yeah.
Europe, several cities in Europe, Soviet Union. And so I've traveled extensively, and I
Right.
like it. Now, my wife was born and raised in this small city in southwestern Pennsylvania.
Uh huh.
And so she really didn't have much of an experience of the world and was a little bit nervous about it at first.
Right.
But she is very independent. She's curious. She likes adventure. Strong-willed. And so when I started proposing these things,
Right.
she said, "Let's go do it."
Okay.
And so bicycle camp. I mean, again, I spent a lot of time living out in the woods, backpacking and biking.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of picked that up, and we did a lot of
You
traveling
bike a
by
lot.
bike
Yeah.
and hiking. And so when she retired, well, her dad just died last year. He was 94.
Mm-hmm.
And so up to that point, we were afraid to leave the country or go too awfully far that I couldn't put her on a plane and have her go home if something happened. And so his passing gave her the freedom then to be more relaxed as we travel, and that's been helpful for us,
Right.
too, the freedom. But she has adapted well and
Right.
actually likes it. And sometimes we'll get back and she says, "Where are we going next?"
Right. Yeah.
She does not like to plan. She likes me to do the planning.
Yeah.
She'll say, "Well, did you get the maps?" And yeah, it's all done. And here's where we're going to go, and I'll plot it out. And then she'll may say, "Well, when we're going here, I want to go to Carlsbad and see the bats."
Right.
Okay, we'll do that. She'll have certain places that she'll say she wants to go. So she is a participant in it.
Right.
But she wasn't not so much the instigator. Of
You
traveling.
started it, right? You put the bug in. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting is that I still find it fascinating, and maps become your best friends when you do this. You're sitting with maps all the time,
Yep.
and you plot these journeys. And I actually just find it almost incomprehensible that you can be a person in this country. You don't even need that much resources. You need some resources. I mean, you got to have a decent vehicle, etc. Right? But beyond that, and you can just plot your way across this continent. And you're right, it's like 50 different countries, right? It's like each,
Absolutely.
and if you don't get hung up. I liked what you just said about, don't get hung up on, I like this kind of landscape or geography or climate or weather or whatever, right? You're like, okay, well, this is what I'm going through. What is this like? And that's got its own beauty, right?
Yep.
But I find it fascinating that you can be a person like the hobos used to do it until the
Kind of.
1930s, right?
Yep.
So I'll catch a freight and I don't know where I will be, right? So we're kind of, and I find it amazing that you can actually do this, right? With a map, with this entire continent, and you say, well, I think I want to go there,
We
right?
call ourselves the mobile nomads.
The mobile nomads.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's, we are mobile,
Right.
at least, when we travel like this.
Right.
And just nomads, just, going from
Right.
one place to another, see
Where
what
do you
it's
want to
like.
go?
And my kids
Yeah.
always say, "Why do you use a map, Dad? I mean, I've got an atlas
Right.
and it is so well used and marked up."
Right.
And they say, your phone will take you every place you want to go.
No.
I say, "Yeah, but your phone doesn't give you the global picture.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
I want to get from point A to point B, I can use my phone and use
Right.
the
For the micro
services.
stuff, yeah.
And it does a great job of getting me there.
Right.
But it may not tell me all the interesting places in
You're right.
between. And so when I look at a map and say, well, basically, we're going from Portland to the Redwood Forest. And so
But now how do
wanna
you do
go?
that?
What roads do I want to take? Do I
And the
wanna
phone
take a
can't help you with
scenic
that at
road?
all.
Do I
Right.
wanna- and Google Maps is not going to tell me.
It's
that.
not gonna tell
It's
you.
just going to say, okay, you can get from Portland to the Redwoods and take this road.
Right.
And we always I call it blue road traveling.
Right.
We try to stay off the big four
Sure.
lanes as much
Yeah.
as we can, because you just don't, you whiz through at 80 miles an hour. Sometimes it's hard to appreciate
Right.
what's out there, the beauty of it. You just can't take the time and
Right.
say, hey, we're in the desert, and here's a dusty old dirt road.
Right.
And we need to stretch our legs.
Right.
Let's go for a couple of miles. We'll just hike down this dusty road.
Right.
And see where it takes
See
us,
what
or
happens?
up a hill
Yeah.
or something.
I've taken interstate almost never, except on a couple of rare occasions, right? When
sometimes
I
you have
needed
to.
sometimes you have to, you need to be there, and there's but otherwise, what's the point of being on the interstate? You're not going to see anything,
No,
right? You're
yeah.
going to move too fast.
We don't mind driving 50, 60 miles an hour, or even slower,
Right.
or stoplights, or even going through small cities is kind of a treat
Sure.
sometimes. And
And you never know,
that's
you might find
part
some
of the
gem.
journey.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Where have you enjoyed being the most, and where would you like to go? Have you seen this entire country by now, or what's left?
Well, I've been in every state in the union.
Yeah.
Pam's been in probably 40 states, maybe.
Yeah.
Because we'll be in Alaska here in
Uh-huh.
2 or 3 weeks, and so that's far up, out that way. Wow, a lot of people say that. Where's your favorite place? And it's just so hard to pick,
Yeah.
because there are just so many beautiful places.
Every place is beautiful in its own
I
way.
kind of like the Southwest.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
southern Utah, and the beautiful canyons and areas down in there. And we were in a place
Arizona.
called Sierra Vista in Arizona,
Yeah.
which is pretty close to the Mexican border.
Yeah.
It was just really beautiful there. We were really impressed with a town called Bisbee, and
Oh, yeah,
and so
yeah.
we thought, that
Close to
that really
Tucson.
struck to us, and we thought, well, maybe
Yeah.
we might go back there again. We stayed at a place called Karchner Caverns, and they had a really nice overflow campground, and we ended up staying there a week, and then doing some bicycling out of there down to Bisbee and down to Sierra Vista, and we biked around there, and we got to think, boy, this would be a kind of a neat place to come. So we thought maybe next winter we might spend 2
Spend
or
some
3
time there,
months
yeah.
in that area,
Yeah.
rent a house and see. We did that in Costa Rica. We rented a house, and we were there for almost 3 months. And it was nice to have a place where you could stay, but then branch out and
Right.
go to different places,
Yeah.
and not be on the move all the time.
Yeah.
It was a kind of a different setting for us, but we both found that to be kind of enjoyable. Someplace different for us and new for us,
Right.
but someplace where we would have a base of operations.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
just not saying, oh, I'm going to Arizona for a week and I'll be in Phoenix or Flagstaff, or but say I'm going there for
3 months.
3 months.
3 months,
And
yeah.
then we'll just really travel in that state. We really get a feel
Yeah.
for that area, because we both tended to like that. And even though I have skied my entire life, both cross country, downhill. I've raced downhill, so I like the mountains and I like the snow. But I'm getting a little older,
Right.
And the warmer climates in the wintertime are starting,
really appeals to you.
starting to sound better all the time.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I said, well, we could do that. I'll miss some
Yeah.
of the winter sports.
Yeah.
Climate change has changed. Western Pennsylvania, in the last 2 years, we've gotten very little snow.
Right.
It used to be in those part of the Appalachians got a lot of snow every year.
Right. Now it's
But
warmer.
it's shifting someplace,
Yeah.
and it's gotten
Yeah.
warmer. The ski areas, two
Yeah.
of them have closed up already. And so, maybe God's closing that door for me in more ways than one. And so I don't know. That's a pretty place, and we keep thinking we
Yeah.
might get drawn back there. But God, most of the places across this country are just breathtaking, and it's just really hard to say.
And it's endless, right?
I would
Yeah.
hate to go here.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm not a fan of, and not to be derogatory to anybody, but
Right.
Alabama, Georgia, Florida
Yeah.
is so humid, so hot, and
Texas?
so humid, and
Yeah.
I don't breathe well.
Yeah.
No, Texas, I actually spent almost a year in Texas at different
Oh, okay.
places.
Yeah.
San Angelo, Perrin, San Antonio, and it's a different heat. It's hot, but it's dry. It's kind of like being in Arizona.
Not like Southeast. Not
No,
like the Southeast.
is
That's a
so
different
humid.
kind of.
Oh,
Yeah.
we were in Salt Lake
Yeah.
the other day, and it was 102 degrees
Right.
in Salt Lake, but it wasn't all that hot.
No, it doesn't feel
just
so bad,
didn't
yeah.
seem all that hot
Yeah.
because it was not humid.
Right.
And then it was was like 91 at 8 o'clock that night. It was still so hot. We had a hard time sleeping in a car
Right.
when it's that hot. We have fans that battery operated fans, and so we kept our fans going all night
Right.
long. But we were very glad to be in the mountains the last couple of nights where it's down to 41.
40 degrees,
so,
and
so
it's
it's like a 50-degree
really nice,
temperature
yeah.
change in
Yeah.
a couple of hundred miles from
Right.
Salt Lake City to Glacier, or not Glacier, but
Right.
where are we?
Crater.
Talking to Crater Lake.
Right now
Lake.
we're at Crater,
Right up
yeah.
here in the mountains. Even my son from
No,
Nevada,
it's a really nice change because I
Yeah, he
also
said-
spent, yeah.
You won't be hot when you get up there.
Right. No, I spent quite a bit of time in June in New Mexico, Arizona, 100 plus, and I'm very grateful for the cooler temperatures here. I like it a lot. Yeah.
I was shocked to see so much snow
Right.
at Crater Lake. In fact, I even took
Right.
a picture with a snowdrift that was probably 10 feet high.
Yeah.
Still along the
A
side
lot
of
of
the road.
snow
Yeah.
still. Right. Yeah. Well, does it take special equipment? How did you equip? When you first started, was it a process of trial and error? What kind of equipment, especially with two people, your car camping, right? So, or did you just pretty much know when you started, oh, I think I need this, and this, equipment. This is how I'm going to prepare myself from the journey, or does it come from experience?
I think more from experience.
Uh-huh.
We've spent so much time backpacking and bike camping where we kind of minimalists and we know what we need, what we
Right.
don't need.
Yeah.
And so we put things that we don't need up on. We've got
You have
an
a cargo
X-Cargo
box
carrier
You got a cargo box,
up
right?
on the top of the
Yeah.
car.
Do you have a
And so
fridge
our
or-
backpacks and our hiking sticks and
Uh-huh.
boots and things that we'll put up there because we're not using them all,
All the time, right.
So we just keep one little bag with just a pair of underwear,
Right.
and a pair of shorts, and a couple
Everything else is
different
up in the
t-shirts.
cargo box.
Everything else goes up on the
I need a
top.
cargo box, yeah.
But we've
Yeah.
modified. We put
Right.
a lot of things in the car that you wouldn't normally think about. We make coffee when we're going down the road. We got a little cooker that we can all with cigarette lighter adapters, and we have
Right.
special designated cigarette lighter adapters put in that have stronger fuses that we can cook and make coffee going down the road.
Right.
We've got netting up in the top so we can store stuff in
Oh.
the netting of the car.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah, I
we
didn't think
sleep
of
on a
that.
4-inch
Yeah.
foam pad
Uh-huh.
in the back. And a lot of people will say, well, you can stay in our house, or we've got a blow-up mattress, where you would say, nothing personal. We'd rather sleep in our car. It is so
Right.
comfortable in there.
Right.
We're so used to each other, and we've got different layers of blankets and sleeping bags. So we can go when it was a low of 85
Right.
to where tonight it's going to be a low of 41, and we'll be comfortable.
What happens in the summer when it's, and I haven't done that, slept in my car like in the middle of a summer. If it's really hot, do you open the windows a crack, or what do
We
you do
have
for
what's
ventilation?
called
and-
window socks.
Uh-huh.
And we special bought them, and they're netting, and you put them over the windows in the back. That way you can roll your windows down. No bugs can get in.
Okay.
You're fairly private in there.
Right.
And we've hung rope along the side of the car, so we just put a little pillowcase over that, and you're totally private. It's totally dark in there, but you get a breeze. If
Right.
there's any kind of breeze at all,
Okay.
the breeze will blow through.
Right.
And worst case scenario, when not moving at all, we have the fans.
Does it ever get
have-
too cold for you in the car where
We've
you're like,
never
oh,
gotten too cold.
okay.
We've been down as low as 20 degrees.
right,
Up in I think it was in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Right.
That we actually
It can
ended
get
up
really
in
cold
a,
there,
kind of a blizzard.
Yeah.
And it was snowing, and it was like 20 degrees. But no, we just have different sleeping bags in there. So if it's really hot, you lay on top of the sleeping bags. If it's not, you get under
Right.
one little tiny blanket layer. If it gets really cold, you get way down under both sleeping bags.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, then you start putting clothes on. You put some socks on, you put a shirt on, and
Yeah.
so all of that. I mean, again, we've done that from bicycle camping because you just never know whether you're going to be
Right.
really hot or really cold or wet,
Right.
whatever. So with a minimal of clothing, you
Yeah.
kind of learn how to layer. Layer
Right.
is a very important word when you live outdoors,
Right.
and being able to put things on and take things off.
Right. Do you pitch a tent rarely these days? You prefer to sleep? You
Rarely
don't do it
when
so
we do
often.
this. If we
Okay.
bike camp, when we just biked across Florida,
Yeah.
we did that all with self-contained. We had panniers in the front, panniers
Okay.
in the back, tents. We
Yeah.
were totally self-contained as we went around there, so we didn't have to look for Airbnbs or hotels or
Right.
cities. I mean, wherever we wanted to, then they said, wherever you want, you can set up you set up your camp
Right.
wherever you want to. They had certain places where you could if you wanted to, but they weren't fussy. You didn't have to go there.
Right.
So it all depends. In backpacking, obviously, we use a tent. We use some
Right.
very, very lightweight, very sophisticated,
Right.
expensive tents that are so that backpacking
Meant
or
for
bike packing,
backpacking.
it's all together.
Right.
But we find when we car camp, it's just so much easier to pull in,
Mm-hmm.
and we can make our food so much easier. It's more comfortable in the car. It's climate controlled. If it's really
How do you make your
hot,
food if you're in a car?
well, we've got the things that you can boil water in,
It-
and
You do that inside the car?
in the car.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Okay,
And,
yeah.
and so we have a little thing that'll heat up. So if we're making soup or mashed potatoes or chili or something
Right.
like that, we can have a hot meal without ever having to go to a picnic table.
Right.
If there's none available. And like here, Pam was thinking about using a picnic table, but it was so buggy
That we
just said,
didn't-
Nope, we'll stay in the car.
Same thing with me. I'm not even going to use anything.
Yeah.
Just stay inside because it's although somehow the mosquitoes, now that it's dark,
Yeah, I
have
think they all
completely
went to bed.
subsided. Yeah, exactly. or they're bothering the wolves.
They said, what are these crazy people doing ahead? We're going to bed.
They're not even leaving. We harassed them enough, right? We were
Maybe
the
we donated enough blood. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we did. Well, they were the Walmart guards, and we didn't listen. We camped anyway, so they're like, okay, just leave them alone.
Yeah.
For somebody who hasn't done this, does it cost a lot of money? Is it expensive to do this? Do you think? What are the
Well,
major expenses when you
that's-
start hit the road? Let's say you got a vehicle.
It
What
is.
is
You've
the
got to
additional
have the
cost
vehicle,
for that? Right.
gasoline. I mean, we paid as much
Gas
as
is expensive.
it's
Yeah.
almost $6 a gallon in California.
Right, in LA
it's
especially,
down
yeah.
to 3.5.
Right.
And so gasoline is expensive. All the little gadgets and things you trick your car out with, and,
Right.
and then you've got to clean the air conditioner and the air cleaners out and the oil, because sometimes you put a lot of miles on and the dust is blowing, and
You're putting pressure on your vehicle.
so,
You're
yeah,
adding a lot of wear
the
and tear.
Tires,
Yeah.
and you're putting thousands of miles on,
Right.
and so it is kind of expensive. We
Right.
think it's cheaper than flying or probably taking a train.
Sure. Yeah.
And then you just have the flexibility of going where you want to,
Right.
when you want to.
Yeah.
But it's not without its. And you eat food. I mean, we eat 99% of our meals in the car. I mean, we very
Yeah.
seldom stop at restaurants.
Same here. Yeah,
And you
I'll
have
just
to
cook,
learn
yeah.
how to,
Yeah.
what kind of foods to buy, what kind of foods keep, and obviously in a small car like we have a small cooler, so,
Right.
so you can't keep a lot in there, and
No.
you got to keep stopping for ice and things.
Eat,
Um,
finish it up quickly, and then get to the next
yeah, we never
things.
buy
Right.
more than about 2 days at a time.
Right.
So but it's not a burden to stop in a grocery
Right.
store, and like I say, we look for Walmarts as often as we
Do you
can.
like cook vegetables usually, or is
Yep,
that
we have a vegetable with
easiest thing
every
to do?
meal. We have
Right?
different
Yeah.
kinds of protein
Because they'll
that we
last.
use.
They won't spoil.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Some you just again you pick out certain kinds of lettuce will spoil really quick because we're
Right.
salad eaters
Yeah.
and fresh foods. But certain things like peppers don't hold up real well.
That's true.
They get slimy kind of quickly.
Very quickly. I learned
Grapes
that.
don't hold up well.
Yeah.
Cherries will stay forever. Hard cherry is really hard to have them go bad.
I picked up bags and bags of cherries in San Francisco a week ago, and I was just finishing up the last
Yeah.
of them today. Because
Yeah.
they last a long time.
That's a long
They
time.
last a
I
long
like
time,
dried
even outside
fruits.
the cooler.
My wife doesn't
Yeah.
do that, so I like to
I'm
snack
mostly a
on
fruit
Gorp
eater.
with nuts
Yeah.
and seeds and,
Yeah.
and foods in it. But Pam is more of a fresh food eater, so
Right.
buying vegetables every day. But you just learn carrots and the things that spoil quickly, you eat quickly.
Right.
So if we buy a cucumber or pepper, we say 2 days at the most, and then it'll be gone.
Right.
Blueberries last forever, and they're very nutritious, and so we eat blueberries
Yeah.
with several meals every day.
Eat lots of fruits and vegetables raw if you can. Often there's no time or even the energy to cook. So you're
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah,
well,
we prefer
yeah.
not. And again, that's fortunate that both of us feel that way, because
Right.
some people, I'm a meat and potato eater,
Yeah.
and that's the only way I can eat. I have to have a hot meal every when I
Right.
eat. We don't care.
Yeah.
Sometimes if it's cold, sometimes if it's hot, that's nice, and we can do that. But it's not mandatory.
Yeah.
And we're just thankful that we can both get along that way. That we both like the same vegetables. And
Yeah,
now
yeah.
you offered us a nice bag of fish, and I said, no, I won't touch it because
Right,
I'm not a fish eater, but my
right.
wife loves fish.
Yeah.
So she was very happy,
Oh, good.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
to say, well, thank you for
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you does it make you a minimalist in some way? You realize
absolutely.
how much, right?
Yeah,
Is that kind of almost the point of this,
yeah.
of doing this, right?
I don't know if it's a point of it, but you got to
It's
do
a big
that
part
way.
of it. Yeah.
You know, it's like some people would say, "Oh, I couldn't live with two T-shirts and a
Right.
pair of underwear and a pair of shorts and a pair of jeans."
Yeah.
You know, for 3.5 months, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are many times that, you know, we'll wash our underwear out in the sink at night and
Yeah.
hang it in the car, and and uh, and so being a minimalist, but again, spending my almost entire life, you know, hiking, backpacking, camping.
You learned to do this.
When you're
This
carrying
was in
everything
your
you own
blood.
on your back,
Yeah.
you just have to be very careful. I mean, you
Right.
cut the handles off your toothbrush, you know, so you
Right.
don't have to carry extra weight.
Because you'll have to
And
carry
so
everything.
you just
Yeah.
learn to
Yeah.
know what you really need to live with, survive. You know, you need a small first aid kit, you know, to
Right.
carry with you because accidents do happen.
Right.
And so, you know, and I don't know, you just need certain things on you, and you know how that goes. And,
Right.
but yeah, you can't just take everything with you, and you have to learn to do without.
Right. Well, I've learned that even what I'm carrying this time, maybe 80 to 90% of it is unnecessary, and I'm thinking for the
Oh yeah,
next time I take a trip, I'm going to think I'm a backpacker. That's all I can carry. Now there will be more than that, but everything beyond what I would need as a backpacker would have to be questioned and challenged. Do
yeah,
I really need it? Can't I just get it along the way? It's not like I'm going to the Sahara Desert, I can get it if I really need it along the way, right? I can buy it, I can
right,
get it. Why should I start with it, right? And maybe I
exactly,
won't need it. There's a good chance I won't even need that thing that, this backup, whatever, right? Why do there need to be so many backups,
right.
on a journey like this,
Absolutely.
right?
3 or 4 years ago,
Yeah.
I mean, we overpacked, and then we'd
Right.
look back and say, I never used this. I never used
If
this.
I didn't use it,
And
then
because we
yeah.
have more room
Right.
in here, depending on what you do, and sometimes we do river trips
Right.
in a big 18-foot canoe.
Right.
And we say, boy, we can take so much more stuff in that because it floats. You don't have to carry it. You don't have to pedal it. You're not going up mountains with it. You just float on down the river with it. So we think, boy, this is really great because now we can take a chair with us and we can have a little awning maybe with us.
Right.
And then you get into a car and you say, well, that's even better yet. I can have all this stuff. And then you find out I just got too much stuff.
Right.
And then it becomes a burden.
It's a burden, right?
Yeah, and
Every
so
single
the
time.
less you
If you want to
need-
sleep in your car, you want to make a tent, let's say you have to sleep you have to move everything, and you're like, I hate that I have this. Why do I
Yeah.
have this, right?
Yeah, you got
And
6 bags you got to move. Why not only move two
right,
of them?
that's when you start hating your stuff and your home. It's fine. It's sitting in
fine.
one place,
Yeah,
right? You don't
yeah.
care if it's accumulating. When you're traveling, you start hating everything that's beyond like completely necessary. You're like, I
Absolutely.
hate this, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything disillusioning, disappointing about traveling like this? Did you find anything, we've talked about the positives. What about something that disappointed you?
Really,
or,
I tend to be an optimist at heart, and
Yeah.
so I'm going to say no. I mean, we've had COVID on the road, and
Oh, that's
we
right.
kinda
Did
had
COVID
to
start after?
self-isolate for
Right.
5 days
Oh, okay,
in the
yeah.
in the redwood forest in California.
Right.
And what a great place to be sick. Now,
Right.
granted, it was mild, so we didn't need to be hospitalized. Didn't need any kind of breathing, but still, you just say, well, that's what it was, and that's just how we dealt with it, and we
Right.
healed and we got better, and we knew how to take care of ourselves, but you're kind of at a disadvantage when you're out like that, and there is no place to go buy anything. You say, gee, I wish I had some NyQuil,
Right.
so I could sleep, so I
Yeah.
could dry my nose out just running all the time, and so you can't always buy, what you need
Sure.
because sometimes you are isolated, circumstances
You're in
come
some
up.
remote,
But even with
yeah.
circumstances like that, I would
Yeah.
say I wasn't disillusioned. I
Right.
was just not totally disappointed. We had planned to spend more time with our children
Right.
in Reno, but when we told them in California, guess what?
Yeah.
We just tested positive for
COVID,
COVID,
yeah.
so we're not going to come and infect you. We're going to stay here in the mountains for 5 days. Well, they were disappointed. We were disappointed.
Right.
But again, I can't look back at that and say, oh, that ruined our whole trip.
Right.
It made a different dimension. And we both said later, how much fun we had. There was no cell service there.
Right.
So we were totally isolated. We couldn't use our
Right.
phones. We couldn't. And yet we entertained ourselves. We did a lot
Right.
of hiking. It was a beautiful.
You have to be flexible,
freezing
like you
creek
said,
there,
right? Yeah.
And we played in the creek,
Yeah.
and so we just made the best of it.
You make the best of the
And
situation.
later on, we
Yeah.
said it wasn't so bad. We had fun there.
Right.
And so now it's really hard. I can't think.
No
of,
major
we got
disappointments
breakdowns in
or-
cars where,
yeah.
we had
Yeah.
to, it cost us money. We had to stay,
Right.
longer than we wanted to in a certain place. But it's just part of the journey.
Right.
And so neither one of us like to get that down.
Right. A
And
great.
some days we're grumpier than
Yeah.
others, and so, but that's not really a disappointment. That's life,
Right.
You can't be always up all the time.
Right.
And so we just learn to forgive each other and
Yeah.
and keep moving on. So
You need a great-
I really
yeah.
be hard pressed to say
Yeah.
I've been disappointed or disillusioned about
Yeah.
about it. And we've done so. I mean, we've really traveled from one end of North America to the other end of North America, and north and south, and all through the Canadian provinces. And so we've been at this long enough that I just don't think we would find anything that would be really disappointing.
Disappointing. Yeah.
Even though if you
yeah.
get to some place and you say, well, this is a destination, I think this would be fun, let's go there. And you get there and you find out, it wasn't as much fun as I thought. It's still just, you just kind of write that off to the experience, and you say, hey, we got to see it, we got to experience it. I may not tell everybody else to go there,
Right.
but I wouldn't say ever that, oh, that really ruined our trip or ruined our day or
Right,
anything.
right, yeah.
It's just part of the journey.
Yeah. Have you? Does it also? It's going to sound paradoxical, but do you also appreciate being sedentary or being in one place more after you started this journey? Do you also have a greater appreciation for that as well?
Maybe for a day or two.
Okay, doesn't last
But-
that long, right?
But
Yeah.
I've been blessed with ADD and
Right.
ADHD.
You got to keep moving.
And so
Yeah.
I can only sit for so long.
Okay.
And then I got to be moving.
You were made
So-
for this.
So then
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
we'll get back home again and I'll say, hey, let's grab our bikes and spend 2 days out on the Laurel Highlands hiking trail or on the Great Allegheny Passage Trail. And
Yeah.
so we'll get on our bikes or go for a hike or, a long distance hike. And we even
Yeah.
when we're home, we try to hike every
Okay.
day
Yeah.
at least 2-3 miles. We got beautiful woods and trails
Nearby.
right near us.
Awesome, yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
sedentary is a word that just I'm not real familiar with that.
Okay.
But it does nice. Like yesterday, we were in this little town.
Right.
We said, let's not go all the way into Crater Lake today because it's
Sure.
too late. We won't have enough time.
Time, yeah.
But if we
Let's just
stay
stay
in
put.
this little town
Yeah.
tonight,
Yeah.
then we can have a rest day tomorrow,
Right.
which would be nice. And then the following morning we'll get up and then we'll go to Creighton, and then we'll get there early in the day and we'll have all day there.
Yeah.
And so it was nice to take a rest day,
Yeah.
and just say, well, we give each other haircuts.
Yeah.
So we get a hotel room, we get a shower, we'll give each other haircuts, we'll charge up our toothbrushes.
Right.
When you're out this long, you've got to do banking and bill keeping and
Right.
make sure the bills are being paid on time. And,
Right.
And so it's nice to have some place where you have a table and you can
Sit
spread out all
down with your
papers
internet connection.
and do that.
and- yeah,
So every
yeah.
once in a while,
Right.
it is nice to have a rest day.
So once in a while, you'll stop at a hotel.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, you have to, right? Like how
Yeah.
long? Like about every couple of weeks
Every
or so?
couple of weeks or so.
Every couple of weeks, you
Yep.
feel like I need to stop one
Yep.
night, right?
Well, when you're on the road constantly, like
Yeah.
this time we had conferences, so we were in hotels. But sometimes if we're just out for a month or two and
Right.
not seeing anything,
Yeah.
well, you have to stop and do your laundry someplace.
Right.
And so you can stop at a truck stop and take a shower and get a laundry, but it's still hard
not
to
the
get a
same.
rest.
Right.
And so every once in a while, every couple 3 weeks, we'll just say we're going to stop. We're going to just do
Go
some
to
of
a
these
nice
things,
hotel
shutting down
or
our
something,
banking.
yeah.
We'll rest. We'll just
Yeah.
take a nap. We'll be able to read a little bit more. We're not driving that day, and it feels good. It feels good to kind of recharge your batteries. And
Right.
rest. So even though I've got this ADHD and I want to be on the go all the time.
Yeah.
I like to sit every once in a while too.
Right.
But really, when we get back from this, it's not like, oh boy, that was 3 months, and now I just want to don't do anything for 2 or 3 weeks. No.
Right. No,
It's
you're
like
not
maybe a
like
couple
that.
days, and
Okay.
then it's like, oh, we're off next.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
again, I'm almost 80, but
Right.
I'm a certified international Tai Chi instructor,
Uh.
and so I still teach Tai Chi.
Okay.
I teach 6 classes a week in Tai Chi, so that keeps me pretty
That was
active
not
and
your
pretty
profession,
moving too.
right? I mean, you always did that, but that's not what
Well, I've
you know.
always been no, I was never professionally
Okay.
until now. I picked up about 15 years ago, so I really
Uh.
started picking up Tai
Okay.
Chi and became certified in it and started teaching it
Right.
about 15 years ago when I retired.
Yeah.
And now I still do that because it helps me meet people, stay active, stay flexible. People just say, I'm a role model to them because at my age I still keep going and I climb mountains and ride bikes and
Right.
I say, well, that's good because I'm going to tell you you can do that. It takes a mindset, it takes a fit body, and that includes what you eat, your sleep
Right.
patterns,
Right.
your state of mind. There's a lot that goes into that.
Right. Well, one of the things you said that I really appreciated is, and I think that's been one of the more fascinating things for me as I do this, is how you pace yourself and the rhythm, and like, okay, today is going to be rest. You learn to know your limits, but also to push them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's really fascinating to me because when you're at home, it's a routine. You wake up at a certain time. It's exactly the more or less the same day after day after day. But here, in order to survive and to do well, you have to play it by ear. It's all provisional. So, okay, maybe you wanted to push on, but you realize, no, I've got to take a break now. And I'm sorry, I'm going to miss out on that thing, whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
But it's more important to just lay low maybe and do quote
Yeah.
unquote nothing.
You got to
So,
have the peace of mind to let it go.
right. And just to let many things go, which are like, okay, I couldn't do it, but
Yeah.
that's fine. At the end of the day, I'm still alive, right? I
Yeah.
can do this again, right?
Well,
So,
and I think, as in so many things, you need to listen to your body.
right,
Your body is trying to do its best to take care of you.
right,
And so you've got to listen to that. If your body says, hey, I'm getting kind of sick, or I'm
right,
tired, or I don't
right.
feel like I should do this today, then I think you need to listen to that. There may be times I want to say, gee, I'd
Right.
like to hike down that 2 miles straight down and 2 mile back up again.
Sure.
But I didn't sleep well last night, and I don't feel real well, and my knee's hurting today.
Right.
And so why push it and maybe break something,
Right.
have a real problem. And so I try to kind of feel what my body says
Right.
is going to be good, and let that kind of be a guide for me.
Right.
It's just kind of intuitive feeling, a gut feeling, but I'd like to listen to my body.
Right. Does being on the road teach you to listen to your body more, do you think?
Um, I'm not really sure, Anise. I've always done that. I've always kind of
Okay.
listened to, how I'm
Sure.
feeling today. My
You're in
feeling.
touch with
Is
your
this,
body.
are my biorhythms up
Right.
or are they down?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
should I be doing? You don't be as active as I do over a whole life of 80 years and not have joints that,
Right.
are not what they were 20, 40 years ago.
Right.
And so I really need to listen to them and say,
Right.
today is a good day to do this. Today is not such a good day
Right.
to do this.
Yeah.
But I would do that at home too, and just say, we're not going to go out for a bike ride today because I just don't feel like I could, like I want to do that today. My body's
Right.
just telling me to rest today.
Right. So you plan to do this, Gary, as long as your body says it's okay?
As
Is that
long as
the
I
plan?
can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll just keep going. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know where there'll be an end. For a lot of my life, I thought I wanted to live to be 100,
Yeah.
and then I changed that now. I'm up to 110.
Okay.
But I'd really like to still be active. I mean, I still like to be
Right.
riding my bike at 100. I had
Yeah.
a friend who was almost 100, and he was still kayaking.
Yeah.
I would help him get into his kayak, and we would kayak, and so he was a real role model to me.
Right.
And it takes a lot of things. I think keeping a positive mental attitude,
Right.
staying fit, keeping your body, and we've got a lot of medical updates.
Right.
Medical institutions are getting more information all the time, and a lot of people are really paying attention to geriatrics and aging.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think with a lot of these things, I don't think it's unreasonable to say, I can have a longer life and
Right.
have it be a good life.
Have the quality until the end.
Yeah.
quality of life. Yeah,
I
because
mean,
otherwise,
yeah,
what's
I
the
don't
point?
want to
Yeah.
live to be 110 and be
And be a
living in
wreck.
a bed
Yeah.
on a ventilator.
Right.
That would not be living.
Right.
But I would think, at least that's my goal anyway, is to just keep going and doing as long as I can.
Right.
And
Do you think this has helped being on the road like this for 4 years? Has it helped your health, you and your wife, or
I think
more
so.
than the wear and tear? Do you think it's been a more of a net gain in terms of health?
I think it's been more of a net gain for
Yeah.
health.
Yeah.
I think, we're both amazed. We both are kind of weight conscious in
Yeah.
a way of, if my pants are getting too tight, I put on too much weight.
Right.
And
I
so
mean,
we
I was
kind of,
amazed when you said you're almost 80 years old. I was just shocked. I was like, what? Yeah.
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 And so we're kind of always amazed when we get home after 3 months on the road that we weigh almost exactly what we did when we left.
We need an
And
80-year-old president like
if
you.
anything,
Like
yeah,
you.
poor Joe. He had a
Right.
tough night
Tough
last
night.
night.
Yeah, you need it. Yeah.
My heart bled for him because
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm a couple years older than Trump, a couple years younger than
Then
Biden.
Biden. Yeah,
And
you're in
I'm
between
thinking,
the two.
And this is where I am. This is how I go. And I think our president being older
Right.
kind of set a role model for the country. Like, we
Yeah.
can do this. But he struggled so badly last night. My heart ached for him and thought, I don't know what this means, but,
It's not good. Yes, Trump would
yeah.
say, not good.
not good.
Not good. So I was
guess
able
we'll
to
find out. But
Right.
I am
Yeah.
feeling good, and as
Yeah.
long as I can keep doing that. And I think
No, and
I
the
think one of the
biking,
biggest
you
things, honey,
said.
about traveling like this
Yeah.
and being flexible
Yeah.
is it keeps your curiosity alive.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even though your goal can change from day to day in a heartbeat
Right.
for lots of different reasons,
Yeah.
you still have a goal.
Yeah.
And you feel like I've got a purpose. And it
Yeah.
may, what's the purpose? Well, the purpose is I met you tonight and said
Yeah.
hi, and now here we are, and we're having a great conversation.
And we ran the mosquitoes away.
And we ran.
We
all
talked so much,
mosquitoes
the
away.
mosquitoes ran
Yeah,
away.
We
The
talked,
ticks
we
are
talked
gone.
them. They got bored and they left.
They left, yeah. Well, it's while we've been talking, it's gotten completely dark, but your insights are
I
so
don't know what I
fascinating.
look like in the light of your camera. Probably pretty strange.
Nothing. At this point, it's completely dark. But
But
I hope,
voices in the wilderness.
yeah, it's makes it all the more mystical. And I hope that the listeners, whoever watches this, will realize what a treasure house of information and wisdom you have been, because you can only learn this stuff by doing it. This is something
Yeah.
you learn. You do it. Otherwise, nobody can teach you this, right?
Nope.
You're on the road and you learn stuff that you never knew, right? You just have to do it. So I hope, despite the dark, that people, listen through it to the end, because you'll learn a lot, from you if they
Yeah.
listen. And I hope
Hopefully,
they do.
something
Yeah.
we said
Yeah.
makes sense.
Something might register. Yeah.
I have a good
So,
friend who
Uh-huh.
always starts her kind of podcast saying,
Yeah.
I hope whatever needs to be heard will be heard.
Will be heard,
And whatever
yeah.
needs to be said will be said.
That's great.
And I've always
yeah.
kind of liked that line
Yeah.
because, never know exactly what I'm going to say or what I'm going to hear. But there are things, and we just never know. Someone listening to this podcast would say, wow, I never thought of that.
I never
Or,
thought about that,
Maybe
yeah.
I could do that.
Yeah.
And so, what you and I are doing, we don't find that many mobile gypsies or
Right.
mobile nomads. Today it seems like that's kind of unusual.
Right. It's a thing
yet
of the past.
It's so freeing
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah.
And it gives you a brighter outlook in life and opens up your horizons, I think.
Right.
So
yeah.
come and join us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Whoever's listening out there, right? Because here we are in this forest, this beautiful spot. It's just got room for, I think, like maybe a couple of tents comfortably, right? A couple of people to stay, and that's it.
Yep.
And we were on the way to Roseburg, Oregon. I was, so are you. We left Crater Park. I had no idea that I would find, this is what I was hoping for, but I didn't know. Maybe I would have had
God
to drive.
had a good plan for us.
Right. I might have had to drive all the way to Roseburg, and who knows, and I was worried, is it going to get dark? But somehow everything worked out. More often than not, things work out.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
without the plan. That's what I've learned.
And we
So
haven't heard a wolf yet.
And we haven't heard of wolf. I don't think the wolf is going to come either.
And I don't think they're going to come.
I don't think they're going to come yet. That notice is from the 1930s or whatever.
Yeah. Back in the days when there were a lot of wolves out
A lot
here.
of wolves out there, and they put up the sign, and they haven't updated it
Yeah.
yet. Nothing has been updated
Well,
yet
you know,
in this
sometimes
spot.
we've noticed they put signs up
Yeah.
because there's a possibility.
Ability, yeah.
We traveled, several hundreds of miles
Right.
through remote regions of
Yeah.
Canada
Right.
where there were signs all over the place. Watch for caribou on the road.
Right.
Watch for moose on the road.
And
watch for bears on the road. We never saw a
Nothing.
thing.
Nothing,
And,
yeah.
and finally, one day we came around a bend, and here's a moose mama
Yeah.
with her baby crossing the road. So finally, we saw a moose.
Yeah.
But I think they have to warn you, and it's wise to know what you're getting so that you don't leave food out and you kind of take care of yourself. But it probably hasn't been a wolf around here for 20 years.
Probably, yeah. Gary, do you teach Tai Chi classes in Pennsylvania at home, or
I do.
Is there a place where people can find you, or how they get it? If somebody is listening in Pennsylvania and you're part of you're close to Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah. In Johnstown, I live in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and I teach with Tai Chi for Health Institute, which is Paul Lamb. It's on the website. Just put on Tai Chi and Tai Chi for Health Institute, and you could go there. And my name is registered with them as an instructor. And
Okay.
yeah. So
Excellent. Yeah. If
that
somebody
would-
happens to be listening in that part of Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
you never know, right?
Never
So,
know. You
Yeah.
never know.
Right. All right. Great. Anything else you'd like to say, add?
No,
or
Denise, thank you. This
No.
was a kind of a unique, surprising opportunity.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun doing it. Sitting here in the dark talking.
Sitting
was a
here
lot
in
of
the
fun.
complete dark. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
thank you. I really appreciate it because you are saying many of the things that I'm beginning to think about, and writing about, but you articulated it so beautifully because you've been doing it for a while. So now, these have become lessons that you have learned really well. I mean, they're you don't have to think about them. They are second nature to you, right?
Lessons
to you
from
and your
the
wife.
road.
From the road, right. Lessons from the Road is the name of this podcast, right?
Yeah.
All right.
That's a great name for it.
Right.
Denise,
Thanks
good
a
night.
lot.
God be with you.
All right. Where's your hand? All right. Shake your hand in the dark. Thanks a
Yeah,
lot,
in
Gary.
the dark. Took us a
Appreciate
while
it.
to find it, but we found each
We
other.
found it, yeah. Thank you, Gary.
Good night.
Okay, good night.